Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here today. And even more jacked up to have an amazing individual join us on here. Somebody who's been, he may not know, has been a mentor of mine that I've followed for over a decade. And this guy is just not only an inspiration to me, but has helped be an inspiration to millions of people, not only here in the United States, but across the world. And the guy I'm talking about, you may have seen him on early on late night infomercials. You may have seen him in the largest online virtual event a few months back, but the man I'm talking about is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Dean Graziosi.
This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, Dean. How's it going today?
It's going great, man. Pleasure to be here.
Glad to have you here. Man, you have been doing a lot of things over your career, and for anybody that's followed you, you talk a lot about kind of your humble beginnings and getting started and owning a tow truck and working on cars to make some working at side hustle today. I'd love to ask you, with where the country is at and so many people struggling, I think the need for a side hustle or to have a strong mindset is so important these days. What counsel would you give to those that are struggling to make ends meet? They're maybe not relying on that, hopefully that stimulus check that's coming, but they really want to get outside of maybe that cycle that they're in. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, first off, man, pleasure to be here. I appreciate what you do. Listen, anybody who's delivering education to those who need it and want it, I have to applaud them, because we are in a crazy time. The world has shifted. The world may never go back to where it was, and in times like that, there's only two options. You freeze, you get uncertain, and you wait for someone else to fix it, or you fight that uncomfortable feeling, you take uncomfortable action, you gain capabilities from people who've already done it, and you move forward courageously, right? Courage is not moving forward in the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward and you're still scared to death, right? Courage is jumping out of the plane and hoping the parachute opens, right? There's no guarantees, but there is a guarantee if you stay where you are. Because if you're not climbing, you're sliding. If you're not growing, you're dying. And I know you've heard those and they sound cliche, but it's true. There's nobody coming to save us. There's no one coming with a magic wand to pay off our debt or put a check in our bank account every month. There's no magical job coming, right? It's up to us. But isn't that freeing, Scott, when you say it's all on me? If it works, it's my fault. If it doesn't work, it's my fault, right? I just know when I take it off the government, the president, the Senate, the Congress, the state I'm in, when I take it off the naysayers, when I put it on me, I feel better. So I just wanted to start there, but I heard your question, and there's a lot of answers. And, I think maybe because I'm 52 and I've been in business for over 30 years, I have more empathy, I guess is the right word. I may have answered this different even in my 30s or even my 40s about how to be successful and how to have grit and overcome the obstacles, which all still stand true. But I want to step back a little more, maybe because I'm in more of an empathetic place in my heart, the way I love being a dad. Plus, I have a new 10-month-old baby, and I'm just in this space where I think my heart's bigger. And I first want to say I'm sorry if you're going through a tough time. I'm sorry if this is a confusing time. I'm sorry if you're kind of sitting on your hands wondering what to do next, because all of those things make you feel uncertain, make you feel scared, and it builds fear, and it builds what I call that inner villain that goes, hey, we should just sit here. We're not sure what's going on. The world's falling apart. Oh my God, the way we're going, taxes are going to go through the roof. Everything's changing. Economy's going to crash. I'm going to go broke. Like, it is so easy to go down that road. So there's a lot of answers I can give. And Scott, I'd love for you to guide me on the best answers you think fit this audience, because I appreciate you. If you're spending time with us right now, I know there's a million other things you could do, but you're here. But one thing I'd like to start with is this. First off, can we all agree that right now the world needs role models and leaders more than ever before in your life? Ever before. No one's coming to fix this. Like I said, we need to fix this in our homes and our families, and we can push it up rather than waiting for the world to push it, make it better for us. So I think we all know we need more role models and more leaders. Your family needs more role models because there's a lot of crap out there, right? A lot of insecurities, uncertainties, right? So with that feeling, why wait for someone else to be that in your family when it could be you? And we all have a superhero or this next level living inside of us. We just have to get rid of the crap on the outside and break through. So how does that start? Again, I'm not saying you got your back against the wall and life's devastating, but if you're listening right now, maybe you're just in a spot where you know there's another level. Dale Carnegie said it best. He said the biggest plight of the human race is knowing you have more potential and you're not using it. Like, think about that. When I say that, you're probably like, ugh. It's like looking in the mirror and saying to yourself, I'm meant for more. Like, I'm meant for more. Why the hell am I not doing it, right? So if you're here listening to this, I'm guessing that's you. So how I would start, and again, I could start in a million different ways, but one is what are you focused on right now with all these shifts? Now you're saying, oh, Dean, really? Focus is going to be the thing to save my life? Yes, it is. Because remember this, what's wrong is always there to focus on. It's always readily available. What's wrong with the government? What's wrong with your state? What's wrong with the liberals or the conservatives or the Democrats or the Republicans or the libertarians or the president or the old president? Like, there's always what's wrong. Your wife, your husband doesn't support you, thinks you're a dreamer, that you should just be real. Your friends think you're nuts because you know there's another level and you want to do a side hustle. It is always, and let me just share with you, I don't care how successful, I've been blessed to have more success than I ever imagined possible. 1,000 times more than I ever could have dreamed of. I promise you I still have these doubts and questions every single day. I still have people doubt me and I still doubt myself. It never goes away. But we have to realize that we can always focus on the inner self-doubt, always focus on our past failures, always focus what's not available. We can also focus on what's been taken away, what's changed. It's always available. Now, why did I beat that up so much? Is because also what's right and what's available and what you could do and your opportunities are always available to focus on too. You see, I know you've heard this a million times, but maybe you can hear it for the first time. What we focus on is what we get, right? Henry Ford said, if you think you can't, you won't. If you think you will, you will. Right? I mean, not to oversimplify it, but I'd love for you right now as you're listening to this, I'd love for you to do a quick, look in the rearview mirror for a minute and just look at your last week and what were some of the things you focused on? Did you focus on, were you binging out on CNN or Fox News? Were you listening to your friends who were saying, stuff's going sideways, I can't believe it, oh my God, taxes in the pipeline if you're here in America, and then this and then that, and oh no, it's like, and or Trump ruined everything, or Trump was our savior. Whatever you believe, I'm not judging you. But I'd love for you to audit your last week. What did you focus on? Because what you focus on grows. Did you focus on how to learn marketing better so you could impact people's lives? Did you focus on how to be creative in your real estate investing career or how to take uncomfortable action? Did you focus on learning from someone who's already been there and forged the path? Did you go back into the course you bought, the coaching that you have, the mastermind you're a part of? Did you look for a mastermind or something that can expand your mind? Did you look for a Facebook group that talks about real estate investing or starting your own business or overcoming obstacles? Or did you binge out on Netflix or watch the Kardashians? Or send your friend stupid memes of the governor of California being the number one real estate broker of the year for Texas. Like just think about it. There's some things that you did last week that got your attention, got focus. This week your life's not on another level. You didn't grow. You didn't get towards your bigger goals. But half the things you were focusing on had no way in hell of getting you from where you are to where you want to go. So I have 24 hours in a day. People way more successful than me have 24 hours in a day, and people who aren't doing very well in their life have 24 hours in a day. What is the difference? How does time, when someone says I don't have enough time, Scott, I just say you don't have enough clarity. Right. It's not time, it's what you say yes to. Because when you say yes to one thing, you automatically say no to something else. Say yes to surfing the internet on stupid shit for 2 hours. Saying yes to going to happy hour for 3 hours a night and drinking too much. I'm not knocking any of that. Saying yes to talking negative or watching the news. If you're saying yes to that, you're automatically saying no to learning marketing, learning sales, learning persuasion, learning influence, learning how to impact others, learning how to be an investor, learning how to start your own business, be online, write a book, whatever you want to do. If you're saying yes to one thing, you're saying no to another. So what's getting your focus? What's getting your attention? What are you saying yes to? Because if you're saying yes to shit like that, you're saying no to the things that can take you from where you are to where you want to go.
I love it. I love it. Where, if you think back in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, what's one time that you said no to something that stands out that you said no to, that really opened up the yeses to things happening for you? Is there a time that stands out when you're driving that tow truck or doing something that?
Yeah, really great question. Great question, Scott. Yeah, I can think of, I grew up in upstate New York in a little town called Marlboro, New York, town of like 6,000 people. And I evolved from nothing, lived in one of the only trailer parks in that town. You know, I only lived there for 2 years with my mom, so it wasn't like my whole childhood, but it was a couple of years. And we were in rented houses and back and forth to grandma's house. And I got some momentum in the firewood business first, then fixing wrecked cars, then the collision shop, then auto sales. And then before 20, I did my first real estate deal with no money down. It was easy. I just knocked on one door and no, it wasn't. I knocked on 500 doors. I got 1 million people told me I was just freaking insane until a really sweet lady allowed me to buy a property with no money down, and she helped the trajectory of my life. But I took 5,000 no's to get that deal. In hindsight, people are like, you're lucky. Your first deal was no money down. It's like, luck has a crazy way of finding people who are obsessive. I'll leave you with that, right? So I got into real estate, and I got a tow truck company, and then I started buying old rundown houses and rehabbing them. Then I started building apartments. Then I started buying raw land and subdividing it, and I started building houses, started getting real momentum. I bought a course from Tony Robbins off an infomercial in my mid-20s, and it literally shifted my mindset, put me on this different trajectory, and I wanted to be in that business. I wanted to teach people what I did. I wanted to be in the knowledge industry. I wanted to say, hey, I got some pretty good, I was broke and I have real estate, I got cars, I got a nice house. I want to teach people how I did it. So that was a shift in my life for sure. But what I said no to is my momentum in my collision shop started going really well, Scott. I got enterprise rent a car within like 100-mile radius. That's why I started a tow truck company, because I got every wrecked rental car from Enterprise within 100 miles, and it was awesome. And we've started flourishing. And I was working on Hertz rental car. But the truth is, even though my collision shop was booming, it's not. I wanted to do something different. Real estate was my life, and also helping others see a different path. Like Tony changed my life with words on a paper and with audios in my ear, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world, man. I could help people go faster and make a living out of it. Holy crap, I didn't know that was a business. But I remember that transition. I actually even moved to Arizona, where I live now, of everybody, including my inner voice, saying, are you effing crazy? You were a broke kid in a trailer park, and now you have a collision shop, tow trucks, Enterprise rent-a-car. You're going to get Hertz rent-a-car. You have 30 apartments. You're building houses. You're making a couple, 250, 300 grand a year. Are you freaking insane? You make more than your mother, father, all your aunts, uncles, brothers, and sisters combined, and you're going to go into this stupid knowledge industry? You're going to do an infomercial, and you're going to I barely read books until I was 30, and I'm going to do this. So what I said no to is I had to be strong and said no to the advice of my sister, who I love dearly, no to the advice of both my parents. I had to say no to growing in an area that I had momentum. And it was difficult because part of me was like, are you a freaking fool? Like, you're going to give all this up to go try to do an infomercial? Do you even know? Like, I didn't know anything about it, right? Because there was no online and all that. So I had to say no to that growth. I had to say no to my sister right to her face when she said, enough is enough, Dean. You're going to, because I had to borrow money to, back then you couldn't go on Facebook and spend $50. You spent $250,000 to get on an infomercial back then. And you spent $250,000 to see if it won. Like, you could be 200 grand in and say, sorry, nobody wants to buy your crap, right? So I had to say no to that growth, no to that life, no to living in my small town, and I had to say yes to moving on the opposite side of the country, starting over in an industry I had no idea on, but I had passion, desire, and that was a big shift in my life. I wouldn't be here if I didn't make that decision.
Well, but I think many people are glad that you did. You know, saying no is saying yes to things, and a lot of times we're going down on one path that if we're not comfortable with it, if it's not really what we're doing, it eats at us, and eventually we struggle with relationships because it's not the path that we feel like we're meant to go on. I think everybody that's successful has gone through that period of saying no to things to say yes to something bigger. Now, thinking about where you're at now, what's one habit that you really love? Well, maybe you don't love it, but it's a habit you've developed now that you didn't have 30, 40 years ago, but it's a integral key to your success on either a daily or weekly habit for you.
I would say, it's funny, this just popped in my mind, and I've never said this before, so you'll never hear this on another podcast, on another interview, is looking at things as they really are. not as my brain wants to tell me they are. And what I mean by that is I've shortened the suffering gap. Like, if you think when you're successful, you don't suffer anymore, you do. You have employees. I'm responsible for hundreds of people now. I run my company. I help run Tony Robbins' company too. We're partners in multiple companies. Like, there's a lot of responsibilities. And some things, you make bad decisions. Things go sideways. COVID hits. You're a live event company and COVID hits and shuts down every arena in the world. And what do you do with 300 employees when you're in the live event business? You got to shift overnight. If you think that problems go away when you're successful, you're wrong. You just learn how to solve bigger problems. Listen, you're listening right now. You solve problems every day. Do you know it doesn't take that much more work to solve problems that are $1 million problems compared to $10 problems, right? You could solve the problem as you ordered medium rare and they brought your steak well done and you can freak out about it. Or you could solve problems on how, right? So we're always going to be solving problems. But here's what I do know is I used to wear it as a badge of honor that if a big shift came or a problem came, I'd stay up all night, I'd stress, I'd worry until I fix that, right? Because I would see it through my lens. I thought that suffering, that stamina, that up all night, stress, worry, I thought that was solving it. And now I get to take a step back and realize, does it still bug me? Hell yes. Do I still get frustrated? Of course. Do I still have sleepless nights once in a blue moon? I do. I'd lie if I didn't. I'd lie if I said I didn't. But now I kind of step back and see it for what it really is. It's another challenge. I've already been here. I can handle this. I know what it's going to be on the other side of this. I'll be stronger. I'll navigate new territory. I'll be a better man. I'll be a better husband. I'll be a better leader. I'll be a better father. It might suck while I'm in it, but I can address this in a different state of mind, and I can see it for as it is, not as my brain tells me it is. And if you're thinking that that's not true, think about so many things in life. Think about something as silly as you thought a friend of yours said something behind your back. And you're like, oh my God, how could they do that? I've been friends with him for 7 years. I do everything for him. I was in his damn wedding. How could he do this? And then all of a sudden you talk to him and he goes, oh, no, dude, that's not what I meant. I meant you're the coolest dude in the world and I should have been there. And you're like, oh my God, I just wasted 2 weeks stressing out, thinking about how I was going to approach him because your brain saw it as it wanted to see it, not as it actually is, right? So when something goes sideways in your life, what if you just decided that was part of your journey? You had to go through that. If you don't get through this, you don't get to your next level of life, right? It is an absolute fact that our next level of life lives on the other side of the thing we fear the most or the thing that we avoid, right? So what if that's designed to kind of nudge you forward, to expand your mind, to get better? And I think that's probably the best habit I could be is when I find myself like stressed or in a funk, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Am I seeing, like, what's my brain telling me and how can I look at this through a different lens?
Yeah, it's definitely important to get beyond those mind blocks or mind shifts a little bit faster to really see things clear in clarity versus letting our mind kind of fake us out, I guess you could say, in a lot of things, worried about the worst. Now, if you had, I like to ask this question from time to time, if something happened and all your resources went away, basically your database, your friends, your businesses, and you had to start over right now in real estate, since this is a real estate podcast, what would be a couple of things that you would do with the world being like it is today, or the things that are available today for you? What would you start over with?
Hands down for me. And you have your strategies. That's your niche. For me, I'd start wholesaling houses. I'd have one sold within a week. I would obsessively find a deal. I would search everywhere possible. I would look for deals that other people can't find. I'd be creative. I'd knock on doors. I'd do everything in my power. I'd go to the county freaking computer because it would be free if I was desolate, and I'd find some people that were late on their taxes. Like, I would just put 3 or 4 strategies together to find a deal that was a little bit better than anybody else's over the next 30 days. And I would be obsessively, I'd do a Google search on people who buy houses. I'd probably find another wholesaler, one who's already in the game, who already has a buyer's list. And by the end of the week, but probably by the end of the month, I would have a deal. I'd probably hand it off to a wholesaler who already has buyers. I'd split the commission with them. I'd make $3 to $7 grand, and I'd go do it again.
Rinse and repeat. But that's what I love about it is you obsess over it. You would be focused on it and market the heck out of it. I think that's one thing that we see. A lot of people are scared to market their deals or to get the word out what they're doing because they're scared. They're scared of failure, but I think you have to go through failure to hit that success.
Yeah, well, let me just ask you something, because that's something I love talking about, Scott. First off, love what you do. Like, don't just do it for the money. Find a way to love what you do. Because when you love what you do, you're not, like, if you're selling drugs to a drug addict, you're a horrible human being. If you're selling gambling to someone with a gambling problem, if you're selling cigarettes, if you're selling something to someone that you know causes cancer, you're a freaking horrible human being. I'm just being honest. But if you're doing something where you're providing a service, you're providing knowledge, you're providing a house to someone who wants to rehab it and fix it and flip it, you're providing a place for someone to live. If you really look at what you're doing, you're not selling or marketing, you're providing a service. Now, if you overcharge them, if you rip them off and you lie to them, again, you're a bad person. It doesn't matter. But if you have ethics, if you follow someone who's already done it, and you're supplying a service to someone who already needs it at a fair price, you are just doing capitalism at its best with a heart, right? Selling drugs, capitalism at its worst. Selling porn, capitalism at its worst. Just being honest, right? But when you're doing something of service, and we must look at this, nothing happens without a sale. Nothing. Apple wouldn't be where they are. Dell wouldn't be, like, no company you could think of through history. Tesla would be there without selling, right? But when selling can become a service, you'll never sell a day in your life. And if you want to avoid selling and avoid marketing and work on just reading and obsessing, it'll be a dream. It'll be something that was fun. You thought about it. And then you'll retreat back to the life that you're not so happy with, or else you wouldn't be listening to something like this. So I would just say shift your mindset to know that selling is service. Because once you know that, and I said something before, our next level of life lives on the other side of the thing we fear the most. So do you think, let me just ask you this. Do you think your next level of success is on easy, it's going to happen on its own, hit a few keypads on your computer, comfortable action? Or is it probably going to take some uncomfortable action, some learning lessons, some failures, some self-doubt, some other people telling you you're crazy for trying? You know the answer. I don't even have to tell you. If you're listening right now, you get it. But that's where your next level lives. So if you're happy with where you are, then don't move forward. Leave it. But if you're not, then gain capabilities from someone who's already been there and march forward.
Yeah, I love it. You definitely, it is, success lies on that road less traveled and on the opposite side. You have to get through the defeats, the mind blocks, and struggles. I think, as they say, God doesn't put anything in front of us that we can't handle. And we just have to kind of grow into that and beat ourselves up with that. So love it. With the new family, I want to throw this out there for you. You just smiled. Look at that big smile there for you, because you love talking about the family. What's one lesson that you're looking to teach your kids over the next few years that you really maybe didn't think about early on in your life? What's one lesson you really want to instill in your kids?
That's really good. Actually, I'm going to tell you the two that I gave them on New Year's Day that I said is the focus for 2021. One is stepping off the path. I challenge them to take uncomfortable action, to do things that their friends wouldn't do, to not be afraid to be embarrassed, to go after, I said, because you could follow the norm and do what everybody else does and you'll get what everybody else has. So I said, I'm going to challenge you this year to go for it. Like, my daughter was a pitcher in softball and really damn good, except then she got water on her knee. Something happened to her knee. It swelled up for so long. They drained it. They had to drain it again. And literally it finally got better and she broke her ankle on our trampoline outside. It's like, so she was off. Now at 12 to 14, she took off like a year and a half between the two. At 12, she was one of the best pitchers on her team. She went a year and a half and didn't look at a softball. Now all of a sudden she's 14. She's the same height as me. She grew a foot. 14, 15-year-old teams are completely different than 11 and 12-year-olds, right? That difference, puberty, growing up, they went from little girls to she's on a woman's team right now, right? And I want to tell you, her old team kind of moved on. She has to start over. She's starting with a pitching coach. She's going on to a team. She didn't know anybody. She walks on the team. The coach asks her to pitch. She throws pretty good, nothing like she used to. She used to be the star. Now she's starting at the bottom. And I said, Bree, let me tell you the easy thing to do. Screw it. I used to play. I hurt my knee. It's not my fault. I didn't put water on my knee. I didn't break my ankle on purpose. Not my fault. Someone else's fault. I used to play. It was good. Let me just coast. I'll do something else. I'll spend more time on TikTok and social media and go to the mall with my friends. I said, that's a choice. And your subconscious could justify that. Wasn't my fault. someone else's fault. Or you could take the road less traveled and say, kind of sucks going on a new team. Kind of sucks that I'm at the bottom of the barrel. Kind of sucks I'm not going to be a starter. But I can work harder, faster, stronger than anybody else. I can practice 3 days a week. And you can do the things that need to be done when no one's watching, so you can win the games when everybody's got their eyes on you. I said, you get to make that choice. You want to be the person that uses someone else's excuse? It's cool. 97% of the world does that. Join the freaking crowd. Or you could be the daughter that I know you are and say, I don't give a shit what everybody else is doing. I'm going to be me. I'm going to hustle, and I'm going to practice when no one else is watching. And then I led into the second theme of the year is, who are you? And this is something I'll ask you, because I ask myself this. Who are you when no one's watching? Who are you in front of your wife or your husband or your kids? And who are you Sunday at church? Who are you at when you're out at the bar with some buddies or friends? But who are you really when no one's watching? Are you the person that says you want more, you want your real estate business to thrive, but when you got an extra 2 hours, you binge out on Netflix? No one's watching. They can't see you doing it. But when it's not working, you start blaming other people. You start blaming the economy. I'm going to ask you to look in the mirror and say, who am I when no one's watching? Listen, you watch Michael Jordan back in the day. You watch him just do something so unbelievable. I grew up in that era, watching him play games live, right? Had the chance to have dinner with him and drink a bottle of wine with him. And I got to know him. It was so amazing. I feel so blessed. But no one knows that man, unless you watch the documentary they just did on him, but the man was obsessive. When no one was watching, he'd go shoot 500 foul shots. He'd practice until the middle of the night when no one else, practice ridiculous. He'd sit in his room, lay on his back, and he said he would literally envision himself shooting 500 foul shots before he went to bed. Now, I'm not saying you have to be that obsessive, but when you got to watch him win the game at the buzzer or game 7, and everybody's like, man, that guy, it's because of what he did when no one was watching. And I said that to my kids. I said, and just being honest for a parent, in a day where my kids could go on their computer and type in the wrong thing on Google and be watching porn, or get a pill from a friend whose parents are on prescription. I'm not naive to think. I remember what was available when I was 14, and the world has changed a lot since then, right? So I also said to my daughter and my son, I said, I'm not around. You guys could sneak stuff. You could sneak booze. You could sneak watching porn. This is how I talk to my kids. You could watch porn, but Google what porn does. Google that it's the #1 cause of divorce. It's the #1 cause of people not knowing have a real, connected, intimate relationship with someone else. If you think that's good for you, you can do it when no one's watching. I probably won't catch you. And then you can make decisions like, I know I'm not supposed to go to this party, but my dad will never know. And you break that one thing. And then you get to the party and a couple people are drinking. You go, I'll just have one drink. And then you go, I can kiss. I'll just do one kiss with that boy. And I said, all of a sudden you're in a situation that you regret and feel crappy. And guess what? I'll never know, but you will. So who are you when no one's watching? What are your values when no one's around? What is the culture you want to build? Lastly, I said, who do you want to be known for, Bree? I'm just going to be honest. And I'm talking about my daughter. I said, you're going into 9th grade. I've been in 9th grade. It seemed 5 minutes to me. I was in a locker room. Scott, you get it. You're in a locker room, 10th, 11th grade boys. You know the conversations in there. There's a couple different kinds of girls they talk about in that locker room. And I told my daughter the difference. I said, who do you want to be known for? All of that happens by the decisions you make when no one is watching. So I don't know if that was too deep for you, Scott, but that was the conversation.
I think it's so ideal, because you have to stick with what you're focused on. You have to be the person you want, because I think people can smell a fake. People can tell a fake, definitely, because when you don't live what your actions, you don't walk the walk that you're talking, people can smell it a mile away. And it's so much easier to smell that line of bullshit that a lot of people feed out there in a regular basis. So, Dean, what's your #1 focus for the rest of the year for you? What's the #1 goal that you've got set for yourself in 2021?
#1 goal. I have to separate it, because family is so important to me. I just always want to be a better dad and a better husband. I don't want to get lazy on that. I think I'm pretty damn good, but man, I slack and make bad decisions on parenting, or too busy and forget to give my wife 5 kisses a day on her cheek and tell her I love her. Whatever that is, I just want to always be a parent to keep that connection alive with my kids and keep that passion alive with my wife. So that's probably the most important thing, and I'm glad I'm even saying it out loud right now, because it reminds me I want to do even better today. And secondly is business. In business, self-education saved my life. It really did. Tony Robbins saved my life 25 years ago. And after Tony, I found Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, Dale Carnegie, Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, every single author I've read and listened to hundreds of books since then, and masterminds, and like self-education changed my life. What you do, like people sharing what they know and their experiences, I'm obsessed with it. So Tony and I have a big challenge. We're going to do a 1 million person challenge in May, Tony and I, and it's going to be on helping people own their future. So that's, I mean, we have a lot of companies and a lot of things going on, but that's going to be a big focus this year, is to get 1 million people to say, I can own my future. I'm in control. This crazy world might live on the outside, and you could either be the thermostat or the thermometer of life. And most people are the thermometer, going up and down with the tide. Tony and I want to help 1 million people see they could be the thermostat.
Yeah, I would tell you this, that the virtual event a few months back, amazing, absolutely mind-blowing on a virtual event and taking a whole different level.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely amazing. We were on it, and absolutely just it was life-changing, not only for us, but for a lot of other people out there. And I've been a big follower for Tony and you guys for years, and just absolutely blown away at the interaction of a virtual event. So looking forward to that in May for you. Dean, what's the best way for people to tap into? I know you've got something that you're working on big. You got mastermind.com as well. You want to talk about that briefly before we let you go? Get back to your schedule for the day.
Yeah, so just for fun stuff, I have a podcast at deanspodcast.com. You can check it out there. It's the Dean Graziosi Show. I try to do a story every single day on Instagram. We blew past 1 million people recently, and I think people are loving that, just daily, like 1 or 2 minutes a day of just something. We all need those little reminders. And if you want to check out my latest book, it's The Underdog Advantage. I think we all feel like an underdog, but what if that was actually the gas, not the anchor? And the rocket fuel, not just gas. So you can check out The Underdog Advantage at deansbook.com. deansbook.com.
Awesome. Final question. Who's your favorite superhero?
Oh, man. I've been asked that before. I never watched any superheroes. I'm going to just say, this might sound cheesy, but my grandmother. Honestly, my grandmother, she, I think that woman single-handedly saved me, just gave me the simplest wisdom. A woman that didn't go past 7th grade. Both her parents died by 7th grade, so she quit 7th grade and raised her 5 brothers and sisters. And she raised me a lot of my life, and she was just, every day she'd tell me I was beautiful, which she probably lied even through my ugly phases, right? But more importantly, she said, don't listen to anyone. You could be anything you want out of life. And she just encouraged me nonstop. And I think I'm a better man, a better husband, a better father because of her. So I'm going to give it to Carmela Finizzi as my superhero.
Very nice. Awesome stuff. Well, Dean, thank you so much for coming on the No Close Show today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, and we look forward to even bigger and better things in 2021 with you guys out there. So, guys, if you get a chance, go out, check out his podcast, order the book, go out and listen to what he said. Such great counsel today. Overcome your obstacles. Don't take no as the answer. Say no to get the yes of what you want in life. Focus on what you want to do. And honestly, guys, you control your own destiny, your path. So go out, take some action, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.
See you guys.
Thanks, Dean. Appreciate it, man.
Scott, man. Keep up the good work.